Good job. Oh, man.
And then finally, we just did come to a halt. There's that beautiful silence that occurs when the engines are shut down and everything was just quiet again.
For more than 25 minutes, the business jet had flown with part of its wing torn off. There's also damage to the plane's tail. Somehow, high over the rainforest, something tore into the plane. The bizarre day takes another strange twist. Because they've landed at a military base, soldiers confiscate the passports of everyone on board.
And that's the point at which I realized that we were in custody. I don't think the others on the airplane had the immediate sense that this was a custodial situation.
Along with the two pilots, the jet's passengers are taken to the nearby airbase. The emergency on board the Legacy jet has thrown Brasilia ACC into turmoil. But it's not the only problem controllers there are facing. Another plane they're expecting to see hasn't shown up. Gol Flight 1907 should be on radar in Brasilia. The missing flight is a Boeing 737 with 154 people on board. It's been in the air for 2 hours and should be nearing Brasilia. But controllers there can't find any trace of that plane.
Manaus, there isn't any gold. There isn't any gold with us here.
It's on its way. They check its status with controllers in Manaus, who were last in contact with the plane.
Anxiety was high, and controllers were confused about what to say. They didn't know what was happening.
Deep in the Amazon, those who were on the XL Air jet are also struggling to figure out what happened.
We hit something, man. That's all I know. Maybe it was a condor. Are you kidding? It's 37,000 feet. Well, maybe it was a military jet.
No, I think the plane must have exploded.
So hit the debris field.
It would have been more impact.
As they're trying to piece together the day's strange events, the group gets some shocking news. A Gol flight has crashed. It's the plane that's been missing.
I just heard 737 went down in the Amazon right where we were. It was like a thunderclap. The world changed immediately. And Joe and Jan were just stricken. I don't think I've ever seen two more anguished men in my life.
The Gol flight crashed right where the Legacy lost a piece of its wing. It can't be a coincidence. Approximately 100 kilometers from the military base, the wreckage of Gol Flight 1907 has been found.
The greatest difficulty involved the fact that the plane fell straight down. When it hit the ground, the trees covered it up, making it hard to get to.
The shattered remains of the plane litter the jungle floor. The news hits controllers in Brasilia extremely hard.
They had just realized that the worst thing that could happen in their control happened. People were crying. A lot of people had to be dragged out of the room. Things were not under control in the room.
Over the next several days, troops pour over the scene of the Gol crash. The dense jungle slows their progress. A makeshift helicopter landing pad is carved out of the jungle. It's becoming increasingly clear that no one has survived. 154 people are killed. At the time, it's the worst crash in the history of Brazilian aviation. What had happened in the skies above the Amazon? Investigators face a mammoth job. Colonel Rufino Ferreira is in charge of the investigation into the Gol Crash.
An investigator always has to keep an open mind. You can't start with any preconceived ideas. When we arrived at the location of the accident, the only thing we knew for sure was that we had found the plane that was missing.
The wreckage of the Gol jet is spread over more than 2 kilometers. The widespread debris tells investigators that the plane ripped apart before crashing to the ground.
There was practically no damage caused by the impact with the ground. The plane had already fallen apart.
On October the 2nd, just 3 days after the crash, the plane's flight data recorder is found. Most of the cockpit voice recorder is also recovered, except for one critical part.
In this accident, the impact was so strong that the module separated from the recorder.
Modern voice recorders don't use tape. Conversations are recorded digitally onto a memory module. But that part of the Gol CVR has broken free. Without it, the rest of the cockpit voice recorder is useless. While the search for the module continues, Ferreira looks at the information from the 737's flight data recorder. He learns that the plane was flying at 37,000 feet. It was on course and flying level at its assigned altitude. Then, without warning, the plane pitched over and plummeted toward the ground. Whatever happened, it was sudden and catastrophic. The data recorder tells Ferreira that the plane spun 11 times before it hit the ground.
Klaus, I can't see Gol. There isn't any Gol with us here.
It's on its way.
So it's already in my area?
For over half an hour.
Police investigators want to know what air traffic controllers can tell them about Gol Flight 1907's final minutes.
There was no mayday. In fact, we never had contact with the Gol jet.
Controllers say there was no warning that the jet was in trouble. It simply vanished. Colonel Ferreira studies air traffic control data from the day of the accident. There is no sign of the Gol flight. But the readings from the smaller Legacy jet capture his attention. It seems to be flying erratically. Instead of keeping to a single altitude, the radar shows it flying up and down dangerously. Perhaps the private jet pilots were testing out their new plane by climbing and descending quickly. They may have collided with the Gol jet as a result of their reckless flying. When that information leaks out to the country's newspapers, it makes front-page news.
The population thought it was unjust that a smaller aircraft was able to make an emergency landing while the larger aircraft with 154 people just fell into the Amazon and everyone died.
Neither Lepore nor Palladino are officially charged, but they are confined to a hotel room in Brazil while the investigation continues.